So this is our traditional closing panel where we try and ask serious questions, and it always goes badly, which is absolutely fine. That's what makes it wonderful. And last year, I think we also started a tradition with kicking off this closing panel, welcoming some guests with some prizes that they've won. But before that, I have to tell you something. Did you pick up your T-shirt? Yes. Right. So here was the plan with the T-shirt. The T-shirt actually illuminates in the dark. So yes, it absorbs light, and then when you go into a dark room, it lights up. The party last night was not dark enough. So I would highly recommend that you try it out by maybe wearing the T-shirt, going into a dark alley at night, or walking into your house and leaving the lights off for a couple of hours just to really enjoy that T-shirt. Because otherwise we've wasted a lot. Anyway, let's start by, the Kotlin Foundation has this contest that we ask people to create multi-platform applications, and this year we have 3 winners as last year. And before we kick off the closing panel, I would like to welcome them on stage. Andrea, Valerie, and Nikolai, please step up. And they're getting some wonderful prizes in those bags. Thank you. No, you go back down that way. Yes, thank you. And that bag is filled with leftover brochures. I'm joking. We are eco-friendly. Oh, by the way, talking about eco-friendly, before you leave, we've put a little hanger at the entrance. I don't know if you've left, you haven't, obviously you're not here, are you? So there's a little hanger at the entrance where we want you to hang your lanyards, because we're going to be environmental friendly. That's why they're all really, really crappy lanyards this year, made out of paper. It's a price we have to pay for recycling. So please hang your lanyard there. And it's like, there's 3 different categories based on what you enjoyed most at the conference. So pick your category and hang your lanyard there. We'll appreciate it. We will be washing them before we use them next year, so don't you worry. Okay, let's start by introducing our guests. So quickly, just your name and that's enough. Or just like your speciality, quickly.
Okay, I'm Simon. I was the technical lead of K2, and now I'm department lead of Kotlin ecosystem.
Hi, I'm Huyen Tuet. Android, Netflix.
Hi, I'm Seva. I'm Kotlin project lead. I do Kotlin.
My name is Michael. I'm in charge of language design.
I'm Sveta, I'm developer advocate.
I'm Urs, and I do a lot of training and Kotlin at the back end.
I'm Jeffrey Van Gogh, and developer experience at Google.
Yeah, I'm Vlad. I'm director of AI at JetBrains.
Great, and I'm Hadi. Now, here's what we're going to do. We have 2 mics in the room. I suggest that you come up, ask a question. I can't see, so if you're there, just shout. And we also, this year, we enabled a Slido where we've already got a whole bunch of questions asked. And we're going to go through them based on the number of votes, although we'll alternate as well. You can continue to vote. Is there anyone at the mic? No. Does anyone see here? Can you see? No? Okay, never mind. This is going to go great, because on top of me not wearing my glasses, the lights are shining. So just raise your hand, although I won't see your hand either. Anyway, we're going to start by the most voted question, which was, where will KotlinConf 2026 take place? But unfortunately, we have another top question that's just been voted upwards, so we won't answer that one. Oh God, now it's coming back up. I'll tell you what, I'll leave that one to the end. So the second most voted question. If you could magically fix one pain point in Kotlin today, what would it be? Who wants to answer this one? So just disclosure, Urs is probably one of the only people here that is like me, doesn't like mobile development.
It's such an honor to be here, Hadi. Thank you. Well, I'm the backend guy, So I still fear a bit the heat of Java in my back. So the feature I would miss in Kotlin is the feature that only Java has, but Kotlin not, which is pattern matching. And I actually really want to have Kotlin to succeed on all levels compared to Java. So this would be the one.
Anyone else have any things they want to fix? Misha, I'm sure you have an opinion. Michael, it's you, yes.
Well, I know if you watched the talk by Ross Tate, but today the more I talk to Ross, the more I'd like to slightly redesign type system in Kotlin. It's not a one thing, but just something that I would love to do slightly different.
And I have a serious beef with star imports.
Okay, next. Yeah, there's a hand. There you go. Thank you. I see the people in white, so thank you.
Hi. My question is the fourth on the left. I think your name is Michael, right? You did the rich errors talk? Yep. I didn't get to ask a question then. Question is the following. So one thing that I always found a bit unfair of Java, I'm getting to Kotlin, was strings. You can concatenate with a plus sign, which is kind of cheating because Java, out of principle, never implemented operator overloading, but they did implement it themselves, but did not give developers the freedom to do the same. And with rich errors, I have a similar feeling, right? So I see the pipes, I see it looks a lot like a union, but it is not a union, but you're using a similar paradigm. So no unions for us, but you're kind of implementing unions just for the rich errors. Why not just give us unions already? Thank you.
Yep, thank you for the question. There are several answers to this. The first one is that like proper union types will severely complicate type inference. And plus, what's probably the main reason is that for union types, we believe that there can be like a better feature, because when people want to have union types and use them in parameters, they actually want to reduce the number of overloads. In this case, there are other ways to do this, and we might share some plans later. But one of them is just it's something that we are experimenting also and looking what we can improve in Compose when you have a large surface of similar overloads that share very similar parameters. So it's data args or some value classes can help in this regard as well. And also, speaking of union types, we are not closing the door. So even you said that it's not a union type, actually it is. So it behaves completely as a union type. And for instance, if you have optional, it's not recommended to use as a parameter because then all callers will have to wrap it into its optional. But with our union types, it's actually fine because we can pass, for instance, int where you expect int or error and so on, because in the type system, it's actually optional. It's just an extension for our nullable types.
Thank you.
In short, watch his talk.
Okay, any other ones? I need the white folks to raise it. No, right. So I think this one is for you, Seva, and for you, Michael. I will summarize it. It says, it feels like language development has slowed significantly since work started on K2, with the promise that K2 will make it easier, faster to do so. Core language development still seems slow. Will this pick up? So the summary is, can you just do more, please?
Can I please note? So Kotlin releases 2 times per year, 2 major releases per year. And if we would expect to release, let's say, 2 language features per release, then in 10 years, we won't be able to recognize Kotlin as we know. And it's not our goal to pile up as many features as we can. It's our goal to provide the most expressive, safe, and elegant language. So we only ship a feature if it carries its own weight. And that's a lot of exploration. And regarding keeping up with the pace, I strongly suggest checking our Keep repository, where we have plenty of proposals starting from Kotlin 2.0.
I think that means they liked your answer. You want to say something, Michael?
Oh, yeah, I can add, because when I hear such questions, I think that people just miss some particular features, because even if we take a look at Kotlin 2.0, which didn't have any syntactic features, we actually introduced around 20 improvements to the language around control flow and data flow analysis. And for instance, inline functions that take other functions, now they have this control calls in place, which we can also use to do better static analysis code. And now in 2.2 we have guards, multi-dollar string interpolation, and other features, as well as a bunch of experimental ones that we just didn't have time to cover, like nested type aliases, context parameters, context-sensitive resolution, and so on. So yeah, it's Seva said, just we welcome everyone to our Keep repository, where we have all the design documents and improvements to the language.
Okay. So, thank you for the great event. No, thank you. The new initiatives and tools now available for Kotlin in the AI space are really inspiring. What, in your opinion, is the biggest challenge for Kotlin adoption for AI? So, Vlad, Sveta, you want to start? I know you're eager to say something. Go.
I just try to be short. So I would say that the biggest challenge is to kind of fix this misperception that now you can do AI stuff only in Python. Because generally, you can do AI stuff, especially if you integrate it into existing apps in any language, including Kotlin. And we try to build tools and libraries for you to make it easy to do it. So that's that I would say as the challenge. And I would also add that I see here huge opportunity to actually make Kotlin the language to build this, to add AI for enterprise applications. Because there is the companies, the enterprises that now consider adding AI features, now they can, I don't know, implement microservices in Python, but it's not that convenient. It's not that scalable in terms of just making your logic more complicated, more sophisticated, and some enterprise languages like Kotlin will suit much, much better here.
Does anyone else have an opinion? I guess I should. I guess you should.
Different opinion.
Yeah. Not really different. So I'd say that there are basically 3 spheres where you can adopt AI. You can use specifically Python to actually train the models, and Python is really great to create the machine learning models and machine learning applications. But then you have to apply what you have trained, what you have created, and Python is notoriously known as not that great language for the server programming. So we do see a big opportunity for Kotlin for application of what has been created with Python and other languages. It means inference, it means agents running on your server or on your Android devices. And I do really think that releasing Kug, we are able to basically catch this opportunity and provide you with the ability to run some agents on edge devices like Android phones or on server. And that is, I think, a big opportunity for the Kotlin that we need to catch.
Okay, so obviously, Vlad, no disrespect, but you're kind of biased. What's your opinion on the matter? What is the biggest hurdle for adoption of AI with Kotlin in the industry?
I think just AI in general is just the current, it's hard to separate, I think, my engineering life from my personal life, reading the news and seeing what's happening. And of course, I don't think any of us are kind of immune to I hate this phrase, FUD of, people telling us, well, AI is going to take your jobs. And even just day to day, I wonder a lot of times, what is this going to mean? Not just necessarily for my job, but for junior developers. How will we pass on the skills that I have learned from doing a whole bunch of stupid shit? Oh my God, am I allowed to swear on this panel? Yeah? Okay. Hadi swears all the time. I don't know why I'm nervous about it.
Sorry, I wasn't listening.
No, yeah. I think part of it is just trying to separate out hype from the actual, utility that AI can provide. And it's really hard to separate that right now, especially with people who aren't engineers, asking us questions and talking about interfaces. And so I do think there's a lot in there, and we just have to filter it out and find, the really great use cases. And that's always the hard thing with engineering, right? Finding the right solution to the right problem. And I think mostly what my concern is right now is making sure that we adopt these things, but that we still are able to do, I don't know, the young people, I'm always worried about the young people and how do we, in this world where you can vibe code, very easily, how do we still communicate skills of problem solving, critical thinking, understanding users, and the kind of empathy that we need as engineers, while kind of, again, filtering out all the BS and being able to transfer that, but then finding out those places in AI where it will fit in our lives. So it's not, that was a Kotlin and AI answer, but if anything, I think that I'm very enthused by the approach that I think JetBrains and Kotlin takes with it, because I think some of the things that are, that kind of intimidate me are addressed very specifically. It's done with intention, with a lot of people who are thinking very carefully, and having that feedback loop of having them having people that write the language, write the AI that helps you write more language makes a lot of sense to me. So I think that's where I'm at. I didn't even remember what the question was anymore. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. I just heard young people have no future.
Okay. I have a question about structural concurrency and coroutines. There's a bunch of pitfalls that I've made and that I've seen being made over the years. I'm doing coroutines since 2017. I love them. But there are pitfalls. For example, you could get a coroutine that can be garbage collected in some cases. You can hit the cancellation exception and then prevent cancellation from happening. That can lead to infinite loops, depending on your code. There are a bunch of other stuff. And recently, my company wanted me to teach the team about all those pitfalls so that we can avoid them. And so it's... we are the mobile team, so we have both iOS and Android developers working really together. And iOS developers also watch that. They were interested because structural concurrency exists in Swift as well, since Swift 5.5, and is getting stronger in Swift 6. And one of them raised something loudly that I was thinking softly, is that if there are so many pitfalls, isn't it a problem in the language or in the coroutines library? And then I was thinking, actually, in a way, yes, maybe not for all pitfalls, but for some, I think. And now I've seen in the keynote yesterday that you wanted to have a single version for many Kotlin stuff, including Kotlin libraries. So would that allow to make a revamp or at least bring structural concurrency and cancellation inside the standard library and fix a bunch of those pitfalls so that people no longer write code that they don't understand?
So there are two questions here, and one is about pitfalls. And we have plenty of in-progress work here. One is that we're working heavily on static analysis in IntelliJ and our LSP to prevent some kind of errors. That in here, the feedback about pitfalls is the most valuable thing you can provide for Kotlin coroutines bug tracker, to IntelliJ bug tracker, to our Kotlin Slack. That's the one thing we're addressing. And the other, we know some ways to improve Kotlin coroutines in a way that less and less accidental errors are possible. So I would expect some updates here during the course of the year. And the other part of the question about Kotlin coroutines being the part of standard library. So there are no plans to make everything part of the standard library. The plan is to blur the boundary. So for developers, there are no distinction between Kotlin libraries and standard library. So it's all just Kotlin. And how it is implemented is just a detail. And here we pretty much care about backwards compatibility. So some issues we won't be able to fix, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you. And as a side question, suspend coroutine. not suspend cancelable coroutine can create some problems when you use structural concurrency because it can prevent cancellation from completing and then can leak a whole lot of stuff. Is that those kind of things that could become like delicate coroutines API or something so that people can be aware of that? And since the boundary you want to blur it, I think it could make sense.
I think it's a nice candidate for static analysis, so please report it and we'll take a look at it and probably we'll fix that.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you. I think I should put a time limit on how long the question is. Simon, I have a question for you. Very simple one.
Okay.
Why is Kotlin compiler still magnitude slower than Java compiler?
I mean, it's better.
It's what?
It's just better.
Oh, it's just better.
You know, the more features you have, the more time it takes to compile the code. Well, frankly enough, we got considerable improvements with K2, and we still continue to work on improving our compiler performance. We still monitor all those stuff. We have the benchmarks and so on, and we continue to improve here. And also, there are compilers slow in different targets for different reasons. Somewhere we have to improve incremental compilation. Somewhere we have to focus just on the pure performance of the compiler. Somewhere it's the build system. So we are working across the stack to improve this, and it is one of our priorities, and it has been since K2, and it remains.
Okay, Jeff, is there... No, you got to walk up. I'm not going to bring the mic to you. You got to walk all the way down there to ask questions. There you go. And while you're walking down, I've got a question for you, Jeffrey.
Sure.
Great work on supporting KMP Compose text field gesture support on iOS. Now, this is a question for you, Jeffrey.
Sure.
Can you help Google do the same for Android Jetpack Compose? It still doesn't support basic gestures like double tap and move to select.
I'm sure we need to work more on those things, and this is why we are focused on Jetpack Compose, right? Like Jetpack Compose, we only started working on a couple of years ago, where Android views have been around for like almost 2 decades at this point, right? And so yes, there are still things we need to improve, and that's why at Google we're focused mainly on Jetpack Compose. Of course, we're working closely with JetBrains on getting the common stuff in for Compose multi-platform, and then JetBrains is doing all the awesome work on iOS. But yeah, we'll keep working on making Jetpack Compose better, and we'll definitely take that feedback.
Question?
Yeah, hi. What do you think is Kotlin's biggest competitor? I think Java is the obvious answer, but is there any other programming language that they're taking ideas from, or that they want to take over with, like any other areas that another programming language is bigger on that Kotlin wants to make it step on? But yeah, what do you think is Kotlin's biggest competitor right now?
You can let's do a quick fire round starting from you. Just name the language.
Biggest competitor, it's Java.
When?
Java.
Server?
Our taste.
What?
Our taste. It's not the language. Our competitor is how tasteful our language is. Do you want to try it? Do you want a piece of this language?
Do I want a piece of your language? Oh yeah, I want a piece of your language. Michael?
Probably Java.
I would say vibe coding, or whether vibe coding can become a thing. I actually don't believe that it happens soon. Sorry for being too long, but I would still consider it as a biggest competitor.
I think I have a bit a more nuanced answer. So on the back end, I definitely would agree Java, that's for sure. When you look at the front end, I think TypeScript is also still a tough contender. And when you look at AI space, it's Python. So it depends a bit on which direction we're heading. You will get new competitors.
I'd say Kotlin 1.x. There's at the scale of Google, we still have a bunch of tools that need to be ported over to K2. And so getting that over and really get everybody on K2 and then using new features in 2.2 and so on, that's the biggest competitor for us.
Yeah, I'd say on the language level, it's TypeScript.
Okay. I think that the beauty about Kotlin is so flexible that even when it comes to competition, we have flexibility there. So you know what's amazing for me is that we've got a whole panel of experts. And I don't know if you're trolling me or something, but still the top question remains, and leading by a mile, is where will KotlinConf 2026 take place? So there's a question that doesn't have a lot of votes, but I think it's important to cover. It says kind of like, have you made any agreements with Apple in terms of iOS adoption, etc.? So here's the thing. Is there anyone from Apple here? No, I don't see anyone. So last year there was one person from Apple. He never got back to us, so no. and apparently he didn't come back either. So I guess someone at Apple watched the closing panel and they're like, you're not going back there anymore. Question. I guess I can answer this one. What about Fleet? Last year it was a primary IDE for KMP, but it was dropped. What is the future of Fleet? Will we have KMP IDE, or will it just be part of Android Studio and IntelliJ IDEA? Well, unfortunately, this is not FleetConf, so I can't answer that question. There will not be any separate KMP IDE as we know it now. We will continue to support Android Studio and IntelliJ IDEA. And in regards to what is happening with Fleet as a whole, there's no updates in that regard, so I can't share anything with you there. But we're not planning to do any kind of standalone IDE on the IntelliJ platform. We'll continue to support folks, whether they're using IntelliJ IDEA or Android Studio. Is there any questions in the audience? Yes, question there.
Hello, thank you for the great conference. So I'm a guy who came from Java world. And I've been using Spring for a while now, and excuse my ignorance, I recently started hearing about Ktour, and I had this question all the time, should I continue using Spring or switch? And I don't know, maybe I have a feeling that they are kind of competing or doing the same thing, maybe my mistake, but I want to hear from your opinion, guys. Thank you.
If you want to say something, yes, but I also want Urs that teaches Spring with Kotlin to have an opinion there also. But yeah, Seb, I think you wanted to say something?
So regarding Spring and Kata, those are completely different things that try different approaches, take different stances of various API shapes, how you're supposed to solve the problem, what's available and what's not available. So it basically boils down to what you want and what you need to your use case. So it's up to you to decide.
Yeah, when you look at the backend side, I think Spring is probably the most dominant framework there with 90% of the market. And to be honest, it's slightly getting a mess in the sense that you have Spring MVC, which you can use with normal threads and virtual threads. You have Reactor, which you can use, well, even with coroutines, but also with virtual threads. And then you have actually all the mixes there. And because virtual threads are not finished yet, you still need this scope stuff and these scope values. Once they're there, then I think coroutines really have a kind of clear competition, at least on the back end, because coroutines, of course, are not only used on the back end. And to be honest, I also don't know how it will turn out. It might, I guess, help if also maybe some guidelines would come, what would be, well, a good kind of mix and what would be supported and what not. So to get at least some ideas where we're heading to.
Question.
Hello. On the previous conference, you mentioned that Kotlin scripting is kind of on hold state. Anything changed?
So there were many talks, this KotlinConf, and a lot of speakers were showing their code samples and examples in Kotlin notebooks. And guess what Kotlin notebooks are powered by? That's Kotlin scripting. So we actually keep evolving that, and also Gradle KTS and main KTS are one of our main targets. So we keep developing that.
Thanks.
Okay, what about the KMP wizard? There's a couple of questions similar to this. So currently the project could be downloaded from there, from the KMP wizards are pretty basic. Are there some plans to allow more advanced scenarios and configurations? Simon, you want to say something here?
Yeah, I will answer that one. So first of all, we also added KMP wizard to the KMP plugin that is for IntelliJ and for Android Studio. There is a wizard in the Android Studio that also supports now the same basic set of targets, and we will see on which also more advanced configurations become popular, and we will look at your use cases. And if we will see that it's useful, we obviously will add it to the wizard because it's the default way of how you're starting your work. And also you can always ask Juni to add some additional things to your project if you need something advanced.
Right. Question? No. Okay. Gradle. Sorry, Gradle. Will Amper replace Gradle?
So Amper and Gradle, while solving similar problems, they operate on a completely different concept, and their philosophies are completely different. So again, it boils down to your use cases and what you need, and how different, complex, or special your build is. And also, it's worth. So the answer is no. And it's also worth noting that Gradle is mature and stable technology, maintained for years, while Amper is experimenting and changing from release to release.
Does that satisfy you? There's silence. Does anyone else have any thoughts about Gradle and Amper that want to share? No. You know, they asked me before, they said, Hadi, should we put them stools or comfortable chairs? I said, let's put them comfortable chairs this time. But I didn't say I'm going to make questions comfortable. Anyway, talking about questions that are, well, this one is actually quite comfortable. Are there any plans to better integrate Java virtual threads and Kotlin coroutines on the JVM to avoid a split in the server-side ecosystem?
So the short answer is yes. So and this is something that we are looking into. But so far, like we have like a few limitations. And the first one is that in virtual threads, we don't have access to the carrier thread. So that means that we cannot mimic like dispatcher's IO or the dispatcher's main, which means that, for instance, we cannot do like asynchronous code on the main thread, which we sometimes want to do. And also, if you want to offload some CPU or IO like bound task to different physical threads, it's not possible right now in Loom. And the other thing is that we also do not have access to the continuation object, which means that we cannot write basically like sequence-like collections or flow, and which is also like one of the main use cases for coroutines. So, but one thing I can promise is that we'll share the document relatively soon and hope to start conversation how to maybe like just open some API, and then we'll probably be able to leverage virtual threads for coroutines.
Jeffrey, when will we have Firebase KMP library? This is the top blocker for teams to adopt multi-platform mobile apps.
Yeah, so with the Kotlin Foundation, we are actually participating in the Google Summer of Code, and one of the projects that's being done this summer is exactly a Firebase library for Kotlin multi-platform.
Question over there.
Back to Amper, I was wondering, where did the name come from?
Name of what?
Of Amper.
Of Amper. You don't know?
I'm thinking.
I don't remember, to be honest.
So
I'm sorry.
The rumor I have heard is that Amper is the Dutch word of barely.
Of what?
Barely. I don't know if that's true.
No.
Barely a build system.
No, that is not true.
Probably not.
Well, I guess it depends how you market that. Yes, it's such a great build tool, you can barely notice it. Boom. Too bad I don't have a mic to drop. No, Amper is Amper. Actually, I think Anton is here. But Amper, if I'm not mistaken, there was a river somewhere near our office in Bavaria, and also it's a famous beer. Craft beer of, and you know, like, anyone from Germany here? Woo! Yeah. What I'm about to say is not going to please you, so don't say, woo! I was going to comment on your beer or lack of it, but yes.
So could you please ask it again next year? Probably we'll be better prepared.
Sure thing, and I mean that the takeaway from that for me is Amper is enjoying my craft, I guess, in this case, craft beer. But yeah. Cool, thanks.
Okay, with iOS reaching stable this month and web beta later this year, can we say 2026 will be the year that all platforms are stable? What should we look up for next Kotlin multi-platform, Compose multi-platform watch? What should we look up for next CMP watch? That would be awesome. Okay, what's happening in 2026? That's the question.
We'll tell you on the next keynote.
Or you're going to forgive me here, Seba, or you can just read it on Reddit an hour before. Right.
Hi.
Question.
Even on the risk to make myself unpopular, but what is your opinion on Cursor? Because I see that with Juni and everything, it kind of feels like looking at the right direction, in my opinion. But what's your opinion? And also what you want to take more away from it, from Cursor, that Cursor currently has, and that you plan to take over to IntelliJ IDs?
Vlad?
So, complex questions. Yeah, basically, I do believe folks from Cursor are doing great things. We're also doing not so bad. So we definitely need some AI from them. They need some code inside. I do believe we'll be doing a lot more, and Juni is actually one of our takes with agentic workflows. We'll be releasing our own models, our own agentic workflows, micro agents, everything. So yeah, the folks are cool. There are other folks like Windsurf, Klein, and others, and we are really watching what is happening and building our own stuff to match or even be better.
And related to that, someone asks, is Juni going to be integrated into Android Studio? It was 2 days ago. You have to keep up with Hacker News. Question.
Hey. Small additional question in regards to union types introduction. Now that control flow operations are going to be extended to work with union errors, are you considering adding safe call and Elvis operators overloading?
I assume that the question is just in general, so that we provide them as operators on the language level, that you can rewrite and redeclare. No, there are no such plans, because we feel that such things that are at the heart of the language, if it will be possible to, if it's possible to change their behavior, it can be very confusing for users. So we do not plan to provide such an opportunity.
Thank you.
Question again.
So unfortunately, I missed the hot reload talk, but I'm waiting for hot reload not only on desktop, so also on iOS and Android. Is it true that it's now only working on the JVM?
It's true, it's only working on JVM, and our main goal is to stabilize it and provide this stable experience. But even now, we're experimenting with iOS hot reload. But it's still experiment, so no promises. We'll see.
And on Android, we do have live edit support for Compose, which is similar to hot reload on the JVM.
But not in the KMP setting, right? Only if I work in the Android project only.
Yeah, we're working on that.
Okay.
Jeffrey, now that you've got the mic, why doesn't the Kotlin Foundation support Kotlin user groups to strengthen the regional communities?
Send us an email and let us know what you need. We're definitely open to supporting groups where possible.
Exactly. I mean, first of all, from JetBrains' side, we have the whole Kotlin user group support program. We've got over 120, if not more, user groups worldwide. But if there's something that the Kotlin Foundation can also do, let us know. We feel like, yeah, we're there to support you and help with the growth of Kotlin. Is there a question? Yes?
Hi, my question is on JetBrains AI. I was running local LLM on my machine and trying to connect with JetBrains AI, but on offline mode, it didn't pick up the context. So just want to know if I'm doing anything wrong, or is it something the context inference requires network connection?
So you can actually also contact me later on, and I'll check what's happening. But anyway, like for JetBrains AI Assistant, we do have connections to LM Studio or Llama, and I'm pretty sure we'll be releasing a lot of other things pretty soon. For example, we do plan to release Melum local version, so it would be easier to download and run it. Overall, I'd say that one of the goals for us at JetBrains AI is to make AI as much local as possible and provide you with capabilities running fully on your laptop. But it's really hard because you have to run 4 billion or so model, and it's not working always great. So yeah, it should be working. Right now, Llama and LM Studio support is a bit constrained due to various reasons because of the models mostly, because they are not always calling tools right and so on. But I'm pretty sure we'll be really improving it till the end of the year, and that is one of the biggest goals for us. So yeah.
Question there. You could, sorry, 1 moment. Please clap. There you go. Okay, go ahead.
Is there any chance that Kotlin cancellation exception will not be an alias to Java cancellation exception, which is also an illegal argument exception?
There is a really small chance of that.
I will keep it then.
That was it? Okay. Okay, we got a couple more questions, so let's try and make these ones kind of more easy. IntelliJ releases are getting worse, with issues such as UI bugs, input lags, cache issues. How are you planning to address these quality regressions? Wait for it. Is there any roadmap to prioritize stability over new features like AI integrations? I always find that, like, couldn't you just stop releasing new features and focus on quality? It's like, it doesn't matter what the product is, that question always comes up. Simon, do you have any comments there?
Well, there are multiple parts of IntelliJ, as well as UI, and IntelliJ Kotlin plugin that's responsible for the Kotlin analysis, highlighting everything. We're constantly in touch with the department, with the IntelliJ department. And we are definitely going to work on quality and AI integrations. Is in a different department, so there is no resource conflict.
Exactly. It's not like one or the other. Yes, question.
Yes. Thank you. I have 3 questions. I'll basically ask them based on priority. So the first one is will there be any RRO support for Compose? Because currently that's one of the reasons that we stick to the views, like Android native views.
Did you mention arrow support?
RRO.
Arrow?
RRO, it's like dynamic loading, resources and like mainly styles. So the applications like base core logic stays same, but the feeling of it, like it can be like updated each time the RRO is changed, but the base APK stays the same.
Isn't that hot reload? I'm confused here. Or I'm not understanding your question. Is anyone understanding the question? No. If you're talking about hot reload.
No, it's not the hard reload. It's like, I don't know how to say. But usually you have the one base APK and then the RROs, which is basically installed afterwards. And then at that situation, you can change the style of the application easily, like without the reinstalling the application.
Are you talking about app bundle dynamic features on Android?
No, it's not.
Runtime research what?
Yes, runtime
overlay.
Overlay, RRO.
Yeah, we're having difficulty hearing. No, I'm sure. Okay, that's a follow-up question. Please tune into our blog post next week. Actually, this is a good thing about having things on Slido, which is that we can probably follow up with many of these questions later on. So yeah, unfortunately, no one here, I think, knows the answer. But I'm taking notes. I'm taking names.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll ask the other 2 questions. So will there be any support for the package private modifiers in Kotlin? Because sometimes we really feel the necessity of it.
Short answer is no. But of course, I think it's like the most upvoted issue today in Utrecht that we have like in the language design subsystem. So, like, and it's kind of similar to the other request, which is like about like multi-cache support. So for us, it's like signal that it indicates that something is missing in the language, like not this particular feature, because we do not want to introduce like checked exceptions and like multi-cache support, but instead we want to introduce like rich errors, which like we believe like a better way to handle errors. And here the story is kind of similar. We do not want to introduce package private as it is, but we want to introduce more modularity to Kotlin.
So are you saying we are going to have modules in Kotlin?
Well, I hope so.
Okay, did you raise your hand? No.
I did.
Okay. Quickly, last question. Last question.
Hi.
Hi.
Do you have any plan to bring the explicit and implicit operator in C# to Kotlin?
Could you please repeat again which operator?
Implicit and explicit operator that explicitly or implicitly map your data class, your instance.
No, we do not have such plans. It's too much power, and it's easy to hurt yourself with such a feature.
I guess it works.
You know, back in the old days in .NET, we had this group, it was called alt.net, and the logo was running with scissors. So maybe hurting yourself is okay. Anyway, that's it. That's all the time we have. There's one question pending, which is where will KotlinConf 2026 be held? Now, as you know, traditionally, we don't tell you. But this time we're going to make an exception. Okay? So where do you think it's going to be held? Shout. Where? Berlin. Berlin. Okay. No, Berlin, no. Here, no. If you went to the quiz last night, you would have seen that here is not. Close. At least Europe. Yes, it's close. It's in Europe. So the next KotlinConf 2026, around the same dates, is going to be held in Munich, Germany. And we will be opening up ticket sales very soon, so make sure you get your ticket. Also, maybe also consider bringing your own beer. Thank you very much, and hope you enjoyed it. Until next year.